that just kept me captivated, and it drove me. But when Jesus came into my life, he drove me so much more. And I went beyond and beyond and beyond, and he just kept driving me and driving me. And that's what I want you to encourage you today with. Let Jesus drive you past your limitation. Let God bring you past what's going on with your now, so that your now can manifest what's happening in the future. Because what God's doing in the future, he's doing in the now. Because you don't have to wait on it. God is right here. And we don't even have to literally be still all the time. All we got to do is embrace him. He's in us. The great I am lives within us. And that is who we should always put our heart towards. If my heart is beating in my chest and it belongs to God, and his heartbeat is beating in my chest and it's beating and all I can hear is God's voice in it, then why is my heart not on God's heart? Chest to chest, breath to breath, chest to chest, right? Breath to breath. And that is where it's at, man. I'm living, breathing Jesus in this moment, because Jesus is living and breathing in me. It is not I that lives, but Christ that lives within me. And is this not about Jesus? Is our life not about Jesus? No matter what the circumstance is, let Jesus be Jesus, man, and let God be God. And that's what we're here today to do, is give it back to God. I give Annie to God. I give Aaron to God. I give Kathy to God. I give Laubert to God. I give Kenny to God. I give Ryan to God. I can give Ryan to God. God's my cousin. That's my bloodline. So I give my whole bloodline to God. And how about God just move through my bloodline right now? How about that? And just let God be God. And no matter the circumstances, they might be in jail, they might be getting out there, and they might be getting high and drunk and all that. But at the end of the day, when they come running, they know where to run to. They run to Jesus. I'll give you a testimony. Not too long ago, I stepped in my flesh and I told my dad, I said, man, you're dead in me, man. So you ain't never been there for me. And he said, man, I don't want to fight you, Aaron. I said, well, I got a bullet with your name on it. I said, you're dead to me. I said, you're not welcome in my house unless you learn to respect me. And I prayed and prayed. He came to church. I did that. I put my foot down. I put my boundary down, because he was doing things to me and I was doing things to him, and it just weren't working out. So I told God, I said, man, I ain't giving up on my dad. I began to pray, and I began to pray and pray and pray. And I just released a song called Daddy. And it talks about how my dad forsaken me at 2 years old, and how he left me and all these things. But 31 years later, and I'm 31 now, I'm sitting in the car next to my dad the other night. And my dad looks at me and he said, son, I'm sorry for walking out on you all them years.
Oh, man.
I've been waiting 31 years for some reconciliation to happen, and 31 years later, my dad finally looks me in my eyes, and no matter if he's sober, if he's drunk, or buzzed up, whatever, he looked me in my eyes and he told me, he said, man, I'm sorry. I sold you out for, and I'm just going to be real, he said, I sold you out for Poo-Tang. And I started laughing. I was like, what? So why you're just giving away your age, you know? And I'm just like, well, what are you talking about? And I know there's kids here, that's why that word, that's going to go over their heads. But my dad sat there, and finally, 31 years later, looks me in my eyes and confesses, I'm sorry for walking out on you. Now, I don't know about you, but when you begin to put boundaries up and you begin to give God all you got, and you begin to relinquish them to God, and no matter what it looks like, they hear you. They hear God. They hear Jesus. Yesterday we were working out and doing leaves. And my dad gets ill and just acting real weird. He's like, can we go back to your house? And I'm like, yeah, he's never asked that before. He runs to my room. And those of you who ain't been to my house, my room is the most peaceful room in the entire house. You walk towards the door, and people that don't have God can't walk in. People that do have God walk towards the door like Karen, they automatically get hit with the Spirit before they even touch the door, before walking through the threshold. And it's not because of anything that I do, it's because God is in the room. I read, I pray, I worship, and I don't just worship like, yeah, God, yeah. I put my hands up in my room just like I do at church. And I worship God in front of that screen. And I worship God, and you want me to tell you something in that? God taught me something. You give it to God. Don't run.